r/AskReddit. What's the stupidest reason you got in trouble in school? I tripped on a loose tile and bumped into a teacher, causing her to spill her coffee on herself. I apologized and showed her the tile. She went on for months about how I did it on purpose. Even got the principal and my folks involved. For the rest of the year she told me I couldn't come back to her class unless I apologized for doing it on purpose. Never went back to her class. Though I initially apologized for the incident, I never once apologized for doing it on purpose. I honestly hate hearing these stories. I want to hear that someone stood up for the victims and said, "You are a person with authority over us, and you should know better than to act high and mighty." Oh hey, I did that. Kinda. Years ago my best mate was about to get kicked out of school cause one of the teachers that hated him found a great opportunity to pin some other mess to him that her favorite student caused. I barged into the office while the principal was there and told him that she's a horrible woman and an even worse teacher and should be ashamed of herself for even trying to pin everything on someone else. The principal yelled at me that I should some respect, and I told him that respect is earned. He immediately let all three of us go for the day and told us to meet him in his office the next day an hour before school. We all showed up and he placed her under review. Nothing happened to her, but she did get transferred at the end of the year and me and my mate got a suspension instead. For hugging a crying classmate in the hall. And that one time I typed the word boobies on the calculator in math class. I got in trouble for hugging a male friend in the hallway in middle school. We saw each other in the hall and was like, "Hey, quick hug." It was like 1 second in front of a teacher's door, which was open. She calls us into her class to yell at us in front of her class. She said, "Hugging between boys and girls is inappropriate." I asked if it'd be inappropriate if I was hugging a girl, and she said no. Then I asked if it'd be inappropriate if I was a lesbian. She yelled at me again. Grad school. As in, full-grown adult. One of my patients was a chill guy. We had one of those relaxed relationships. He would fist bump me after treatment was completed. The Dean of Academic Affairs did not like that. Got a 45-minute lecture on doctor-patient relationship, and how dare I violate that trust with a fist bump. For using my asthma medication in class. I was told to keep my inhaler in the office, and to use it in there only. I was told it was distracting. Know what else is distracting? The sounds of someone gasping for air, and having to be removed from class. What's worse is kids have died because they didn't have immediate access to their inhalers or EpiPens because they needed to be kept in the office. Idiotic. That's why my grandparents just told me to hide the damn thing in my backpack, since they found out that the nurse's office in this broke down podunk-ass school was all the way across campus from my classes. Same for my parents. They told me to keep my inhaler with me and just not tell anybody. I had to run the mile during gym outside in very humid weather. Not surprisingly, I had an asthma attack. Probably the only reason I survived it is because I had my inhaler in my pocket. New Jersey tried to kill me. I can never live there because of asthma. But I'm fine anywhere else. Only exception is if I try to walk outside in very cold weather. I'll need an inhaler afterward. In 1993 the Flaming Lips song, "She Don't Use Jelly" came out. I was in 3rd grade and I really liked that song. And started singing it with my friends during a double-handed jump roping session. She don't use jelly or any of these. She uses Vaseline. Boom. Written up. 3-day suspension for saying sexually suggestive things. I had no idea that was meant sexually. Worse even, no one would explain why that song was sexually suggestive. It was very confusing. Wait, that song is sexually suggestive? I thought she just sucked at making sandwiches. Correcting a teacher's spelling of congratulations. It was a substitute, and it was English literature. Congratulations. You get a suspension. Clearing my throat before reading out loud to the class. She yelled at me and threatened detention because she thought I was faking it for attention, but I don't see how. Also, more context, I was a quiet kid, so I wasn't one to create drama to begin with. It just made me not want to talk more than I already didn't want to. I once broke out in a dry cough and was practically choking, so I started to drink a bottle of water that I got from my bag. The teacher grabbed the bottle off me, threw it into the bin, then told me to be quiet because someone was answering a question. Needless to say, I was not happy. I stormed out of that room. I was about 15. Someone made a paper airplane out of scrap paper that had been binned. My name was written on the sheet they used. I got sent out the room and handed a punishment exercise. Arg. Flashback triggered. We each had a notebook in school. Something you would use in all your classes instead of that class's official exercise book. My notebook was full and tattered, so I binned it. Apparently, somebody took it out of the bin and wrote many offensive remarks aimed at different teachers. And then handed it into one of the teachers. Just by looked at the handwriting you could tell it wasn't me. Nope. Still got bar locked for that. Someone once poked a wasp nest in the school forest, and the whole swarm came out upon the school. The entire school sat detention for an hour. Understandable if you don't know who did it, but that's not the problem. We were sitting detention because the principal's son got stung. As it eventually turned out, it was actually his fault the swarm came down on us. I have cursed his name since the day I found out. There was an unexpected whole school assembly grade school. We were all brought to the gym and sat down. It was then explained that one of us had pooped on the gym stage behind the mats. We know who did it, but we are giving them this opportunity to stand up and apologize. If you don't, then we'll have to punish you harder. Even to us kids it was obvious they had no clue who did it. Also, ordering a kid to stand up in front of the whole school and apologize for shitting on the stage is not how you get the kid to admit they did it. Chasing someone with a paperclip and saying I'm a vampire was elementary. This is my favorite one. It makes no sense and is cracking me up so much. I received 2 weeks of detention. It was also an act alongside 2 other friends. We got told on from some dude who wasn't in our business in the first place and thought we were stabbing our victim. Only 1 out of 3 of us had a paperclip. Spelling test in 7th grade. We wrote down the words as the teacher shouted them out. One of the words was peace. The kid next to me asks, which one? There's 2 different words, peace/peace. The teacher said, the one on the list you were supposed to study. I whispered, peace as in piece of pie. She made us both rip up our tests for cheating. For not looking at the teacher during lesson. I wasn't fidgeting. Just sitting at my desk, staring into space. We had a payment system in 3rd grade, where you'd get dollars for good behavior, finishing homework, cleaning up after lunch, and lose them for bad behavior. At the end of each quarter we'd get to use the dollars to buy shit at the book fair. Every kid wanted to stock up. Now each task would get you between $1 to $2. Each day you could only get like 3 maximum. She charged me $20. It was literally heartbreaking and took me a full month to recover. Turns out I had focal epilepsy and was having episodes in class. Got treated like a shitty kid for it all through high school. May I ask for details on focal epilepsy? I'm not familiar with it. I assume it to mean uncontrollable bouts of staring or blinking. I have focal epilepsy as well. However, focal epilepsy is a general term to refer to a fairly broad range of epilepsy. In my case, my mind gets really fuzzy and I'm only partly aware of what's going on. I still have control of my body and can respond to people talking to me. I got in trouble for cheating on one of my math exams. The teacher found a piece of paper in my pencil case. I got sent to the principal's office. When the principal asked me about what I wanted to say in my defense, I simply told him to take a look at the note. It turned out to be a shopping list. I was allowed to retake the exam the following week. My friend got in trouble for this when he was actually writing a list of weird events to happen in something he was into at the time. Can't quite remember what. The teacher demanded to see the note, then read a list containing items along the lines of, Greg set fire to the hospital, and Greg proceeded to shoot Lindsay, and the ghost of Lindsay haunted the rest of the people on the island. In middle school, some kids were stomping on caterpillars during recess. I took a Ziploc bag from my lunch and put as many caterpillars in it as I could to rescue them by taking them somewhere else. I fast walked to get away fairly quickly without making a scene. A teacher stopped me and accused me of running and shoving. I didn't touch anyone at all, and when she saw the bag, she gave me a look of utter disgust. I got lunch detention for it. I ultimately switched out of that school because the staff had it in for me for some mental health issues and quirks that I later discovered was Asperger's syndrome. Had serious concentration issues when I was younger. I now know this was likely ADHD or something similar. Used to get detentions all the time for daydreaming and not finishing work when I was uncontrollably zoning out. Got yelled at all the time for it, and I never understood why everyone was angry at me. I couldn't understand where time was just disappearing to when I zoned out. Never got help for it. Teachers are sometimes assholes. I threw a closed pen to my friend, who was like 3 feet away from me, and the teacher freaked out. He made a big deal out of it in front of the whole class for a solid 5 minutes, and then emailed my parents. Luckily my mom was able to see my side of things and she said, "Doesn't that teacher have better thing to do than email me about my child throwing pens?" We still laugh about it from time to time. In middle school, the bell to send us home didn't go off on time. We were all standing by the door waiting to leave when all the other classrooms started leaving to go home. The hallways were filled and teachers were telling people goodbye, so my classroom started to leave too. I was one of the first ones out, but apparently our teacher caught the end half of the class and made them sit down and tell them everyone who walked out the door because I dismiss you, not the bell. So all of us who left like the rest of the school got detention. Trying to start a fire, which led to me getting an hour detention and having to stay for the rest of the lesson in isolation. But why did they think I tried to start a fire? 'Cause in a science lesson I rubbed 2 sticks together. That's a difficult way to start a fire. Unless you had a boat reel, the class was safe. I was sent to the principal in 6th grade for arguing with my teacher when she insisted that Hitler was a communist. The principal literally did a facepalm, but then pulled himself together and lectured me on being more respectful. What's this teaching you? Right now, kid? Nothing. But one day you're going to have a boss that comes out with the stupidest thing you ever did here, and then you'll remember sitting in here. I was drinking tea and my teacher yelled at me to stay home if I'm sick, which I wasn't. You sick bastard, drinking tea in school, barbaric. I dropped my phone down an entire flight of stairs once. I took it out of my pocket, it slipped, I tried to catch it with my hand, but I just ended up hitting it forwards and upwards. It landed at the bottom of the stairs flat on the screen. It was completely broken except for one thing. It could still receive phone calls. So next period my classmates kept calling me on repeat, and I could do nothing about it because my phone could not silence or ignore the call. Naturally, my teacher blamed me, and I was sent to the principal's office, who told me never to do it again, and that she'd be keeping my phone the rest of the day. I seriously don't think she realized it was shattered, even when she was holding it. How your classmates should kept calling in there. Then it would have been a hell of a shit show, all teachers trying to wonder how to get this to stop.